Hey guys, it's Lily and welcome to the first episode of Advice Audit. In this series, I'm going to take short form health and fitness tips and ask one simple question. Is this actually good advice for the average person? And if not, we're going to talk about who it might actually be better fitted for and how we might tweak it for the average person. The series isn't about proving the creator right or wrong. It's about comparing health advice with what might be better understood by the general population. I try to make everything accessible to everybody, as well as make any variations known. And just advice is not one size fits all majority of the time. There's definitely things that are better for a healthier mentality or to achieve your goals in a better way. So there's a lot of nuance that I'm going to try to discuss when necessary. But besides that, let's get into the first creator.
Ever struggled to hit your protein? Let me put you on something. Okay, some people are gonna be like, what the actual hell? Okay, tuna in a can. There's nice flavors. There's some bloody good flavors out there. This is onion and tomato. Great, love it. So much flavor. Don't even care if you hate it. Second of all, pork crackling. This whole bag is 31 grams of protein. 31 grams of protein. There's like all calories in this as well. So tuna and pork crackling, simply the best combo.
I think that's good advice for anybody. I mean, and before anyone comments, oh, the mercury in tuna, you have to eat an absurd amount. I've looked into it in a different video. Don't ask me which one because it was a long time ago. But you have to eat an absurd amount of fish for the mercury to be a problem for your human system. There is trace amounts because that's how our environment works right now, but it's not enough to give you mercury poisoning. And eating 1 can a day is not bad. And pork cracklings, I've also seen them pork chips, pork rinds. So while both of these things are low calorie, if you're not concerned about calories, I think this is a really easy high protein snack, just like she said. And protein, I think now is so widely commercialized. I don't know. There's so many people who know they should be having high protein now, especially with like big companies getting into protein cereal, protein this, protein chips. I think it'll be easy to hit your protein goals as long as you're consciously like, am I getting 20 to 30 grams every meal? And pork rinds, tuna, if it tastes good, you do you. I'm sure that's a super high protein thing. So honestly, good advice for anybody. Simple high protein snack or meal.
It's estimated that only 1 to 2% of the population will ever run a half marathon.
And lucky for me, this was my 7th.
The weather held off for the most part, the crowds were phenomenal, and to top it all off, I got a PB. I managed to take 1 minute 57 seconds off my previous personal best that I set in February at Blackpool Half Marathon. This was event number 5 out of 12 as part of my 12 fitness events in 12 months. Next month, I've got Leeds 10k, followed by my first ever ultramarathon in July. 5 down, 7 to go.
So I love that she mentioned her PB and that she mentioned this is my 5th of 12, I think. And she didn't at all mention, I think her overall time was posted in there, but she didn't overall compare herself to other people, right? She's competing with herself. She set a goal, she's obtaining it, and she's also only competing with herself, which is huge. And that's awesome advice for anybody, really, just getting into any type of fitness or anything, really. Not even fitness, like even just organizing your own house, how you parent. Maybe you have something that you did in the past you don't like, now you're just trying to do it slightly better. I think that's great advice for anybody. You can set a goal, you can work towards it slowly. She's slowly increasing the amount of marathons she's done, and then she's competing with herself to be better than the version she was yesterday. That's amazing for anybody.
Should you be tracking your calories? I mean, I made this transformation in 1 year, and I didn't track a single calorie. So no, you don't need to track your calories, right? My client made this transformation in 6 months, and he tracked every single one of his calories. The only reason why I was able to make that transformation was because I've tracked my calories before. I know about nutrition. I know how serving sizes work. So it was a lot easier for me to just do it without tracking my calories. When you get down to it, Everyone should track their calories at least once. If you have no idea how nutrition works, you don't understand the macros and things, you don't understand serving sizes, you are going to make it a lot harder of a process than it needs to be, especially if you're not tracking.
Okay, I was totally prepared to come into this and be like, no, that's great for you. You made that transformation, but someone who doesn't know anything about calories is not going to necessarily be able to make that transformation. And then he backtracked. He didn't backtrack, but then he explained it really well in the video, especially with his client transformation. I honestly completely agree. Everyone should track calories at least once. Not even necessarily micromanage in the sense of I'm only eating X amount of calories, but maybe just like look at the serving size of something you're serving yourself. One of the biggest things for me when I started tracking calories was coffee creamers and cereal, because I ate a lot of cereal. I like cereal. And once you start actually like weighing those dry goods, cereal, nuts, granola, you're like, whoa, that has like no protein, some of them, or this is an insane amount of calories and I eat like 4 times a day. So I'm not even saying like you need to micromanage your calories, but I agree that doing it once, at least becoming aware of it at once for everything you consume, is really interesting, and it kind of like gives you some perspective on why maybe your goals may or may not be the way that you want them to be. So she, in her caption, explained it pretty well. We all know genetics play a certain role, sure, but do you know what plays a bigger role? Hard freaking work. Yes, and honestly, that transformation, amazing, good for you. You look incredible. You look happier in your current videos. Love that for you. There is some science suggesting, obviously, your biology and the home you grew up in can affect your overall weight, but not to the extent that you're 300 pounds and can't lose 10. Not necessarily. I would argue with someone who is 15% body fat and someone 20%, maybe that they're eating the exact same thing, or their body types are the same, that could be a genetic influence that someone might need to adjust more than the other one. But when you start talking about the extremes, genetics can only play so hard into that. And you might not know any better if you were raised in a household of people who consistently overeat. You might not know any better, but that doesn't make it genetics. A lot of people who are super skinny, there are a handful who have a faster metabolism and they're raised in a household that doesn't overeat. So they will stay skinny a lot of their life. And then there are certain people who just naturally were drawn to athletic activities, marathon runners. So they will likely stay on the smaller end their whole life. But if you're kind of in the middle, it's very easy to teeter-totter either way, and it's going to take conscious effort to remain on the smaller side of your unconscious decisions. It's going to take some amount of effort to choose to go to the gym if you weren't already living an active lifestyle, or to pay attention to calories if you didn't previously.
This Popeyes order is 280 calories, 27 grams of protein. I have lost 145 pounds just eating in a calorie deficit and going to the gym. Nothing else. And this is going to be my new Popeyes order when I'm on the go and I need something. It is a 3-piece tender with a small mashed potato and gravy. I've never had Popeyes before, so this is a first for me. We just got one where I live, it's about an hour away, but still. These are the blackened tenders. And of course, we are washing it down with a Diet Coke because we do not drink our calories over here.
First of all, my fault for watching this video before breakfast, because now I'm hungry. But anyway, no, she said that she lost 140 pounds just maintaining a deficit and going to the gym. Yes, 100%. A majority of people could just adjust calories and they would start to lose weight. And I don't know if I should say a majority of people. A significant number of people? I don't know. But Also, she's eating, it's just regular mashed potatoes from a fast food restaurant. And yeah, it's not their fried tenders, it's the blackened tenders. But that's just an easy swap that if you are on the go, if you do consistently eat out, something you can consciously decide like, oh, that's like 200 calories less if I get blackened or grilled versus fried. And then her hint at the Diet Coke at the end, I think that's also something I say a lot in my like hints on how to lose weight is if you are drinking calories, those are the easiest calories to overconsume and lose track of. So between alcohol, sodas, sweetened teas, diet, or fake sugar, if you are purely focused on calories, is great.
There's only two things that work for losing weight, and that's either 1, eat less calories, or 2, burn more calories. Personally, I like option 2 a lot more than I like option number 1, because you can only eat less for so long before you run out of less to eat. But here's some strategies that make eating less a little easier. 1 is not drinking your calories. Water, flavored water, carbonated water, diet soda, things like that. 2 is making sure you eat enough protein, because it's going to keep you feeling fuller longer than carbs and fats do. And 3 is making sure you get enough fruit and veggies, because fiber is going to keep you feeling fuller longer as well. It's also going to let you eat more food for less calories, and fruit and veggies are loaded with vitamins and minerals. And click the follow button if you want more actually helpful tips for losing weight.
I was about to pause after he said the high protein thing and be like, and fiber, and then he said it. So yes, he's correct. There's only one way to burn more or to be in a calorie deficit. Burn more calories or eat less. And he was like, well, I don't like to eat less, so there we go. And it looked like he was probably like walking around. For the sake of my brain, he's walking into the gym because he's going to burn more because he doesn't want to adjust his eating habits, which is fine. That's completely okay. And like I said, that's where you end up with people who are marathon runners or always seem to be slightly smaller. Overall, great advice for anybody, really, especially someone newer into the dieting field. It kind of gives them a direction to think about fruits, veggies, protein, or movement.
Here's a little behind the scenes for my vegan meal prep this week for lunch. So I've made some baked sweet potatoes here, and then right here I've got some air fried tofu. And the other half of the tofu is just got out the air fryer. And the only thing this meal needs is just a vegetable source. So I'm gonna do these cauliflower also in the air fryer, maybe the oven. But here's something I want to say. It's important to be flexible with your meal prep. Tonight, really, I only had time to make my sweet potatoes and the tofu, and I could stay up later and make the cauliflower, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go to bed. We'll put this food away, go to bed, and then make the cauliflower tomorrow during my lunch break because it only takes like 15 minutes. And that's that. That's a whole complete meal. Super easy to make and it's not overly complicated. So yeah, vegan meal prep is super easy if you make it easy. You can make something super complex, but you don't actually have to do that. And you can still have a super well-rounded, nutritionally complete meal that's filling, high protein, all the things, high fiber, and great for you. If you like seeing this, follow for more vegan and plant-based nutrition content.
I specifically chose this video actually because flexibility in meal prep is something I've had to learn recently, funny enough. I end up with I cook so many sweet potatoes and it's supposed to be 4 days, so I have 4 containers of sweet potatoes in the fridge with no meat because I had to go do something else and I didn't have time to stand over the stove and cook the meat. So now I have 4 containers of sweet potato that I know that raw meat in the drawer has to go into before the end of the day. And I like the way he mentioned that. He was like, I could stay up later and do this, but I just don't feel like doing it, so this is going to be put away and I'll cook that tomorrow. And I think that's one way to not make meal prepping so complicated is if you view it in sections, especially if it's things that need to go in the oven or the air fryer, that you can kind of walk away from. But if it's something you have to stand over and kind of mix, then it's like, okay, that's more of a time commitment. Also, tofu, super high protein. Love that for a vegan-based diet. There is ways to get protein outside of tofu, of course. And I did a whole video in the past on the vegan diet, and so I don't want to hear anything about how it's unhealthy or not sustainable or da-da-da-da-da. Everyone's going to have their own preferences of what they want to eat, how much they want to eat it, and why they're eating that way. Side note, can we talk about his message bubble? It looks like a frog. Unless I'm tripping. He's the only person I've messaged that has that, and I don't know how he got that. So cool. when I first messaged him, I was like, oh, that's weird, it's green. And then I was putting this together and I was like, that's a frog. I don't know, pretty cool. Overall, great advice for everybody, and the recipe specifically, good for vegans. So I literally did this the last 3 days of my vacation. Yeah. It literally had a bucket of yogurt. It was like half full. And I was like, I don't want to make more dishes. We're kind of cleaning things up because we're going to do this or that. Let me just literally rip the greens off, throw it in the container, and I'll just hold a bag of granola in the car. That's not going to work for everybody. But I think that the idea of the video is great for everybody. You don't need to overcomplicate the prep or the healthy eating. Sometimes whatever is just easiest to grab is gonna be what you eat. So just make those healthy choices easier to grab. A bucket of yogurt, just throw some berries and granola on top. And hey, if you don't finish it, just don't mix it. Just scrape the top layer of granola, eat that, and then you just have more yogurt at the bottom for the next day.
Novinho Raul do set que trampa com estelionato. Quer se envolver com as mina que sabe que o nem vem aula.
So I actually, let's see. I actually didn't understand the whole video by itself originally, and then I messaged her and I was like, oh, you know, I can kind of figure it out. And the first picture shows little to no protein, which makes you lose muscles instead of only fat, which, yes, if you are starving yourself, literally, not just in a deficit, if you are literally starving yourself, especially getting no protein, you are going to begin to lose muscle. If you are natural, that is why when you are in a deficit, you typically want to increase protein slightly above your normal expected amount because it helps maintain some of that muscle. If you are enhanced, that's holding on to the muscle for you, so you have a little more flexibility. Then she said is also very unhealthy to eat like this in the first pictures. The second picture shows more food that are typically higher in protein, which doesn't make you lose muscle. If you are eating enough protein, you can hold on to your muscle. You can still eat one high protein meal that has 30 grams a day and it not be enough to sustain your muscle. So it's kind of adjusting your muscle needs for the amount of muscle you have. And then, of course, if you're in a deficit, you may want to increase protein, especially if you're natural, because that helps maintain some of the muscle while you were actively trying to lose fat. Because if you completely lower calories across the board and do not adjust protein, fiber, things like that, it is very likely you lose any weight. Not that you can target fat or anything like that, because you have nothing sustaining the muscle on your body. Overall, I would say that's okay advice. I think I was a little confused, but after she explained it, I was kind of like, yeah, like once you get into, yes, you need to eat a certain amount of protein to maintain your muscle. Yes, 100%. Good advice for everybody. Increase your protein if you're trying to hold on to muscle. You can't not eat protein in any capacity and expect to have a significant amount of muscle. Even vegan diets have protein. I keep saying a lot. Anyway, all of these creators are their little profile pictures, and that all of that is on TikTok. So if you are looking them up, you do have to look them up on TikTok. They might have the same on YouTube, I'm not sure, but these specific videos and profiles I pulled from TikTok. And obviously I messaged them saying that their content would be used, so those messages were included, their responses with some things they wanted to clarify or not. All of my socials are there. I'm going to post this full form content of this video on Spotify and YouTube, as well as a few clips across YouTube and TikTok. Till next time, bye.